am very tired. I just got back from a long road trip, but this video, let's see how this goes. So goal for this video is to recreate my removable core support, as you can see here. No, it is not a tube ultra fabrication super strong core support that I could just unbolt. That comes later when I have access to a welder. But for those that don't have a welder and you could probably make this with a drill, a rivet gun, or rivnut tool. So a drill, rivnut tool, and either a sawzall or a cutoff wheel, and you can make one of these. So mine's is clearly messed up, which is why it's not on the car no more. When I first got the car, way back, I mean, it's even in one of the videos, somebody hit the car while it was parked, and the whole front end bumped up against the curb. It was all held in by zip ties at the time, so it deformed all of this. This one completely broke, and I tried to put it back together by putting a bolt in there. It only was temporary fix, so that was all deformed. And then it broke the bolt hole right there that went for the mount, that they bolt to. So needless to say, when I got it in here, that was the first thing to come off to get the RB20 out. And now that the Neo is in, and pretty soon I'm gonna have to put the radiator in and mount the intercooler and all that stuff, my core support's gonna need to be in there so that stuff can mount to it, or so I can set it up properly. So as for how to make a core support like this, or some of you have may seen what mine's looked like beforehand. So this is a S14 core support. Got it off a guy. This one just was cut off. This is basically stock. Nothing too crazy about it. That's pretty much all there is to it. As you can see, some cutting was done. So since I have the S14 headlights, basically this entire section had to be cut off to clear for those, because they have the big ballast in the back, like this big circular thing that has to clear those. So that's why that's cut off on there. But outside of that is not too much that needs to be done. My car came, and I don't know if this is every S14. I think these were welded in. Yeah, looks like they were welded in. So previous owner put a bolt in here, cut this area, put a bolt in, welded it on the back side, so it's threaded on both sides. And that's one of the bolt-in areas. Bolt these 3 points down to their factory holes on that part. These on the edges are the ones that bolt down to those two that he welded in. And then there's two bolt holes on the side at the top, which will go to that hole and that hole. It's pretty simple. So in order for me to get that one like this, I gotta do a lot of cutting. I'm gonna paint that one. I don't know if I'm gonna paint it black, white, or try to get it to color match the car, but it will be painted because I don't want it to rust after I cut it and everything. So yeah, first step is gonna be basically just following this seam, cutting all the way across to clear up for that. You don't need any of this side stuff either, or at least I don't. So I'll be cutting that entire square off to get it like that. And then after that, it'll be seeing if I need to drill a hole for this area. So this is gonna be like just a straight up right here. Seeing if I need to drill a hole in this area to mount. Same for this side. And then the last thing would be the top bolts and everything like that. So I'm gonna get to cutting. We're gonna see how this goes. All right, so this side I've done. This piece pretty straightforward. I just kind of went from that edge straight up for this side, followed this seam straight across, and then there's a seam right here that I followed for that to make it all straight. I just came back and started cutting the bottom of this just to allow for a little more clearance so that I can get in there, you know, just in case you need a little more room. You never know where you're gonna need a little more room. And then since this isn't gonna be the final removable core support that I put on here, I'm cool with this. And that's gonna be that for this side. Of course, grind the edges so that they're not sharp, which is what I'm gonna do after I cut the other side, and paint it, of course, you know, so it doesn't rust. But that's the bulk of the cutting that needs to be done for this type of core support. Now it's just doing this side, and then excuse me, after I do that side, I'm gonna line it up, see if everything bolts, you know, kind of fits similar to this one, because it's the same fucking thing. And if I gotta drill some new holes, I will. Another thing that I'm gonna do to this one that I'm not gonna do to, that I didn't do to this one, is I'm going to notch the top of it. So about right here at the top, I'm gonna notch that to move my radiator back, because the radiator's stock mount is where those holes are, and it puts it like right up against the fan. I can move it back, but I'll have to drill holes like right here, and it'll clear and everything will be great. But if it's right there, it's gonna definitely hit the core support, so I'm gonna notch it when it comes time to do the radiator install or reinstall. But yeah, so I'm gonna cut the other side and then show you guys what I'm talking about. All right, so this is the first, after I cut both sides, this is the test fit. This is what I was talking about when I was talking about you want as much room in this area as possible, because the intake piping is gonna come through here. So you want to fatten that up. 9 times out of 10, the intercooler piping is going to go down here. So clearly with those in there, you're not going to be doing nothing. Or at least for my setup. Some people will cut a hole right here and just run it through that. That's fine if that's how your setup is, but it's what it is. But yeah, definitely adjustments need to be made because it needs to be pushed over from the looks of it. I'm gonna use, so what I plan on doing is using the OEM mounts down here to kind of line it up and center it. And then from that point out, just kind of like, you know, this is pretty thin, it's not that sturdy, that's why you get the crash bar. There you go. It's pretty thin, it's not that sturdy, that's why you get the crash bar. Or when people do, you know, their own removable core supports, they'll do circular tubing just like this to make it strong and sturdy. I will do that just when I have a welder. Don't have it right now because no power is in the storage unit. But yeah, so with this being so thin, I'm gonna mount it up down there and then just kind of slightly bend it in a way that makes everything centered. And then that's when I'll kind of like do the final touches on it. As for these, I think I may need to drill a hole for those. Let's see. Put this back up here. Let's see if I can get it in those adjustments. Probably see. I probably can get it in there. Which one is that? Far. That one's on the inside. So this one. There you go. Okay, so I don't need to drill holes for that. There's factory holes that I can use. And then these can still, you know, as you can see, you can kind of move these around. So you can still bolt these down. And then with these, it's just the these are 10mm nuts that go on the back of those from the, you know, the guy that welded it in. Makes it a little bit easy. If you don't have a welder, you can still cut the back of this, put a screw in there, and just have the bolt, you know, tighten it down. It doesn't have to be welded in. The welding is just extra precautionary that you can do. Like I said, I didn't do it, previous owner did, but you can still do it without a welder. You could just have the nut and bolt sandwich this and then just have a hole right there. Same thing. But yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bolt this down center wise, like that side, and then these three, and then adjust the tops by bending it and stuff like that, and then kind of lining it up and then going from there. Okay, so this is where I currently am with it. It is bolted up to an extent. This one's not bolted, but these two are bolted down, those are bolted down. I'm trying to get the side situation. So the thing with it is getting it to line up and be the exact same on both sides with this. I'm trying to use this little notch as a marker to just have it like right there on both sides. But if I bend that one out there, this one comes up here. Makes sense. So I would have to notch that one. I had to drill the hole, bolt that side down, and then bend this one to match. And that'll be that. And my core support would be pushed forward ever so slightly. And another reason that I want to do that is, I don't know. See, the thing with it is it's the core support. And the reason I'm doing this is for the radiator, yes, but at the same time, fenders bolt to it, the hood that can be, you know, managed with the pins, but the fenders bolt to it, the headlights bolt to it, and the front bumper will bolt to it in some shape or fashion. So the only way that I could truly 100% get this all right is to leave it bolted in and then test fit all of this stuff. It's mostly the fenders, because I know those fenders are slightly longer than regular S14 fenders. All right, this is one of those measure 17 times, drill the hole once things, because I'm not 100% sure that this is gonna work, but I am crossing my fingers and we're gonna make it happen. So this is what I'm doing. There's paint on there because just drilled a fresh hole, exposed metal, want to paint it. Using this, off of this lip being flush with this lip, 1 inch from the edge, about right here, is where I drilled this hole. What I plan on doing is using my rivnut tool to pop a rivnut in there. And this is going to be an M10 rivnut, so it's going to be pretty strong. Pop that in there so that I can put a bolt in, and this section could still be bolt up. And I plan on doing the same thing to the other side, but after this one's bolted in, that's when I'll do the other side. I got the fender on here to make sure that I marked or drilled a hole far enough back for the fender to be able to bolt up to it as well. The way I had my fenders and stuff set up was the core support had a nut, a screw coming from the bottom originally, kind of like how those down there are. I had a screw coming up from the bottom, and then you would just put a bolt on top. So I would line this up on top of the screw, then line this up on top of the screw, and they would share a common hole, and then I just bolt them down. This way it'll be a little bit cleaner. I'll have a actual riv nut there for them to bolt to, and then we'll go from there. It'll still be same positioning as it was beforehand, so I don't have to adjust anything crazy. As you can see, the fender stops about right here, but the core support can keep on going. So if I were to drill a hole right here, it would bolt for the core support, but the fender would no longer have a mount. This fender is an S15 fender. For those that don't know, it's an S15 Cosmo Racing wide body front fender. is not meant to go on the S14. The only mounting points I'm using is this one that I have made as a bolt down there, the one I'm making for the front, and then one at the bottom. So it has 3 mount points. It's going to be secure. That's just the way that I got this one to work for me. As you can see, I had to cut this area. It had like a little point coming up that I had to cut because it kept bumping into a pillar. The other mount point is the retainer for the headlights, but I don't have that right now, so that one will come like later on. Ooh. So I'm just kind of waiting for this paint to dry. Then I'm gonna put the riv nut in, bolt it down, do that side, and then we should be good. And then once all of the mount points are good, secured, verified, straight, because I'm gonna do the bumper next. The bumper should just line up. If it doesn't, crash bar is gonna keep it centered. And then I'll just have to make, how did my bumper mount? My bumper mounted to the headlight retainer as well. So headlight retainer bolts to this, bumper mounts to the headlight retainer. So I might not do the bumper then, because I do not know. I know that my headlight retainer was cut in half. Oh, it's still bolted to these. Yes, as you can see, my headlight retainer is cut in half. This is a S15 / S14 kooky. Same part number. Headlight retainer goes across the whole thing. I cut mine in half because of my S15 front end. On my S13, didn't let the bar at the top clear, so I cut the bar at the top and just had the two separate. I'm probably gonna get another one. So yeah, I'll just do the headlight. Yeah, I had these mounts for the bumper in the middle, outside of the sides where they bolt to the fender. But I'm talking a little bit too much. I'm gonna cut to when this is dry and when I'm putting that one on, or I might just cut to when they're done. After that mount point is done, I'm gonna take it all off and then probably start painting it. Once you get your mount points sorted out for those sides, what I would suggest, I mean, technically speaking, you're done, but what I would suggest, and kind of helps, is to take a grinder, grind the edges that you cut, and then paint to prevent rusting. So I'm about to grind down the edges, that edge, and then the edge over there, as well as the back side. Same for that side. And then after I grind it down, I'm gonna paint this middle part because I only got this one piece of cardboard. And yeah, put it back on after it dries and start assembling the front end. 1 can of paint down. I decided I'm gonna try and paint it to match the actual color of the car, because I got a bunch of cans left over there, so might as well use them. So I'm gonna let this dry. Really only takes 1 black base coat, then flip it, paint the other side, and then we'll start throwing some color on there. That's pretty much it for the core support install video. On to the next video is doing a tucked radiator setup. I've done most of that as well while I was waiting for this to paint, or waiting for this to dry. So I'm about to finish that one off, and we'll go from there. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe, follow the build. Until next time.